Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 101. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This episode is going to be a SilencerCo special, being that we did a silencer special last week, did not mention any SilencerCo products, and then the day after we recorded, they released a bunch of awesome products for 2015. So this episode, we're going to cover all those. I got with me today Chad, Tony, and DJ. How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Yep, going pretty good.
Awesome. Well, see, this podcast is brought to you by Patriot Patch Co. And what I'm just going to talk about in guns, since I really didn't do anything, is we added some new shirts to the T-shirt side of the shop on Patriot Patch Co. So I'm actually wearing one right now. It's the rock paper scissors buckshot shirt, and
Nice.
This is something that came out of my brain, went on paper, then went on the computer, and now it's on shirts. It's amazing. It's the process of life for me. So you can go order yours right now on patriotpatch.co is the website. So we got rock, paper, scissors, buckshot for $20 starting off. Larger sizes are going to run a little bit extra. We got come and take it using a pretty snazzy silhouette of an SBR with a bunch of goodies on there. And then we've got the classic Firearms Radio Network logo t-shirts available in black or orange. So if you want to show your pride for the network or just get some awesome gun shirts, head on over to patriotpatch.co. We're going to have some more shirts added on there in the next couple of weeks or so, I think. We got some more gun-themed ones coming on there, so stay tuned for that. So that's what I did in guns pretty much this week, just working, doing graphic designer stuff. So what did you guys do?
I guess since I'm the only one muted, I'll tell you, I didn't do anything, though. I did, however, receive my Firearms Radio t-shirt.
Oh, you did get yours in,
Yeah, from the Patriot Patch Company. So,
are you wearing it?
I am not wearing it because,
Slacker.
well, I wore it last night to get my hair cut.
It's too
Got
itchy.
hair all over it?
What?
It's got hair all over it?
Yep, you got it. So, and in guns, I pretty much carried, and that was about it.
Cool. How about you, Tony? What did you do in guns this last week?
Well, to be fair to Chad, I mean, he didn't know he was going to come on the show every week on Tuesday. So he wore it to get his hair cut the day before the show. Yes, what did I do? Well, I had finally had the Second Is for Everyone diversity shoot on Thursday, 17th of September, and it was awesome. A lot of people showed up, ton of people showed up. We had instructors out of the Yin Yang. We had an ammo company actually send a rep out, and we ended up giving pretty much nearly $1,000 worth of gifts out in swag bags from Ruger, Springfield Armory, Tetra Gun Cleaning. Tetra Gun Grease actually showed up with cleaning kits and other stuff he gave out, including samples. We have Rip Combat from Philly. He's an armorer, and he builds customized firearms. He brought out about 5 firearms that he customized, 3 Glocks and a 1911. We had Armand come out. He has a company here in Jersey, and he builds custom ARs. He came out with 7 AR-15s that were about $4,000 each, and just had people shooting them. It was geek heaven. If you're a gun geek, you should have been there. A lot of these people said they're going to come back to the next one, which is scheduled sometime in November. I'm trying to get it in the second week before everybody gets crazy for the holidays. So if you want to find out when it is, it'll be posted this week on Simon Says Train and on Tony Simon if you're friends of mine on Facebook. And that's what I did this week. And then Sunday I taught an NRA First Steps rifle class. Had a good time doing it and realized I suck at taking selfies. So if you saw Simon Says Train on Instagram or on Simon Says Train, yeah, my selfie looks like security footage from a liquor store robbery.
Are you in front of a concrete wall?
Pretty much. It's just sad, dude. But that's what I did this weekend, guys.
I saw you convinced Shanine Allen to come back to New Jersey, huh?
Yeah, Shanine Allen came back and she actually showed up. It was really nice. You'd assume somebody who's been through what she's been through for the last 10 years and picked up this kind of Second Amendment celebrity status would be kind of stuck up or just expected to be treated like a superstar. This lady is one of the nicest people I've ever met, just real humble, real down to earth. And she was talking about how they're still messing with her.
Damn.
Actually.
That's been
they're still
well
messing
over a
with
year
her.
now, huh?
It's been 2 years. She got arrested 2 years ago.
Jeez.
People blow it off, not understanding that this woman was locked up in jail for 43 days before she could come up with bail.
Yeah.
She was separated from her kids for freaking over a month. And then when she gets out, she finds out that she lost her job because she was arrested on a felony charge in New Jersey. She hadn't been convicted. She was just arrested. Then she lost her house. So she has, I'm going to say, instead of, my next Second is for Everyone thing, Shanine Allen, go to ShanineAllen.net or .org, ShanineAllen.org, where you can donate money to her if you want. She has on October 4th, she has a fundraiser for herself. This lady's still trying to get on her feet because she just got pardoned by the governor, 2 months ago of New Jersey? So she's only recently been able to actually get her job back. So she's just trying to make up for the fact that she had to pay for her first lawyer. Second Amendment groups paid for her second lawyer that actually got her out of jail. So this lady is actually trying to financially get back on her feet. So if you could help her out, go to ShanineAllen.org.
Wow.
Thank you.
And TJ, not to leave you out, what you doing guys this last week?
Yeah, actually, got to go to Sunday. All day Sunday, I went to a training course, a handgun, to whatever the ICE calls it, something along those lines. Rob Pincus's program. I think it's part of his program, just named something slightly different. It's like combat focus shooting, somewhere along those lines. And so it was about a 500-round course, doing kind of basic defensive handgun stuff. Not bullseyes and stuff like that. More along the lines of defensive handgunning, and I had a really good time. Glad I got to work myself out in that atmosphere rather than just kind of standing on the range shooting paper in a little booth, an indoor range and all that. And I ran my Lone Wolf Timberwolf Glock 19 the whole time, and it ran really well. I was impressed by it. I only had a couple malfunctions that I'm fairly certain were ammo related because it was some kind of cheap ammo that was just kind of dribbling out the ejection port whenever it ejected, so I assume it kind of had a failure to extract one time, which was with that aluminum ammo, which I've had that happen before, and then I had like 2 stovepipes, and that stuff was so weak that it was just kind of dribbling right out the side and landing on top of the slide, so I wasn't surprised that it didn't make it all the way out the ejection port. So
I'm guessing it's just a Glock.
Well, it's not.
I know.
High points are much better.
For the low maintenance shooter in your life, high point. Sweet. Well, we also wanted to make sure we plug a couple more of these announcements before we get to the main topic and talk about these awesome SilencerCo releases. If you're shopping for a Kydex holster, you can get 10% off of Bravo Concealment by using the promo code RTTCombo10 because I did that review on the RTT holster. So if you're looking to save 10% on a Kydex holster, head on over to Bravo Concealment's website and use that code when you're checking out. Also, we're having a giveaway where I'm giving away a Surefire ProComp 556 muzzle brake. This fits on all ARs that are threaded with the 1/2 by 28 muzzle pitch, or thread pitch, I should say. So it's a nice comp. It's got 2 chambers on there. It'll make you feel like you're a better shooter. Whether or not your groups are going to be any better is not my problem. So I'm giving this away. The deadline is Halloween, so October 31st. All you got to do is leave us an iTunes review, and then you need to, whether you copy and paste, take a screenshot, whichever, put that review on our Firearms Insider Facebook wall, and then, of course, like the Facebook page itself would be appreciated. That way, it's easier for me to track them. I get a little bit more. I get more reviews. I get more likes. Everyone's a winner. So we only got one of these to give away, so it's going to be one lucky person. We already got a couple entries, so you definitely don't want to be slacking on this. So go ahead and do that. The only other announcement we got is just a product announcement or kind of an alert. If you've got an X Products can cannon, X Products, they make the drums for the AR-15s. They make that can cannon. That's basically an upper that you can shoot soda cans using blanks. The ATF has issued a determination letter saying that, yeah, by itself it's not a firearm, but when you attach it to a lower, whether it's a rifle lower or a pistol lower, it classifies it as a short-barreled rifle. So just be aware of that and watch. I guess X Products is going to resubmit and hopefully see if they can clear that up. Or else I'd be ashamed for everyone who has it to either have to send it back or go get their lower SBR'd.
Yeah, X Products seems like a good company, so hopefully they'll hurry up and try to get something figured out. And I could imagine conceivably all they would have to do would be to pin that or weld that outer tube to make it a 16-inch barrel. Hopefully it's something simple like that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, since we're on the topic of NFA, let's talk about some sweet suppressors. So, I guess SilencerCo last week had a kind of a party. I guess my invitation got lost in the mail. So it was down in the Florida Keys on a private catamaran. They called it the Maxim Vice event. Kind of like Miami Vice, but Maxim Vice. Maxim being the last name of the inventor of the suppressor. So it was lavish. There was costumes. They had a catamaran with all these industry bloggers and reviewers and the like that were invited, including Chris Chang from Top Shot, and he's on the Firearm blog. So basically they put out some floating targets, on little rafts, a giant shark. Some life rafts with some terrorist targets on there, and they got to shoot these products, in international waters at these floating targets. So kind of cool.
The event, SilencerCo likes to kind of blow their events way huge and make them really cool. But this one was a little odd because I heard somebody say you're showing off silencers and you're going to do it in the noisy, rocky water with the water slapping against the boat and stuff. You might not be able to hear it as efficiently. So it's kind of interesting they chose to do that, but it looked like a heck of a ton of fun.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. Oh, you're shooting a silencer off the side of a boat, so you won't hear how quiet it is. Yeah, I think you can notice the difference between the unsilenced and the silenced firearm on the boat, in a closet, or on the move. Significant difference.
Yeah, they forgot my invitation too. So.
They didn't forget mine. I got invited. I just get seasick, so I told them I was going to show up.
Oh, okay.
They were other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the most notable product that they're coming out with, because it's kind of more revolutionary or innovative than the other ones, is the Maxim 9, and this is going to be the first ever commercially integrally suppressed handgun. So I think this is what I remember in SHOT Show this last year. I was talking to a gentleman at the SilencerCo booth, and without revealing too much, he said they were working on something that was going to kind of shake the definitions of what is a suppressor, what is a firearm, and make it a hard day in the office for the ATF. And I think this is kind of what he was implying, because I know they've been working on this for a while supposedly. So it's built on a Smith & Wesson M&P 9 frame. It's not a Smith & Wesson M&P anymore. It's been highly modified, so you can't just like obviously add an upper to your M&P frame. There's a lot more modification involved. So when this does get released, it's probably going to have a high price tag, just based on the fact that the upper is SilencerCo, the handgun frame, the lower is going to be SilencerCo. It's going to be a 100% SilencerCo product, except for maybe like the trigger group and the magazines are going to be Smith & Wesson, but everything else is going to be a little bit more proprietary. So it's not going to be inexpensive. But the cool thing is it's not real long. It's of course it's adds a little extra sight radius, which is good. But you can holster the thing and they're actually partnering up with Raven Concealment, and they're making some holsters for it. So you can holster an integrally suppressed handgun. This is the future, folks.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not too big of a handgun. I mean, it's a good bit bigger than a standard M&P, but when you compare it to anything else, you put 6 or 8 inch suppressor off the end of the gun, it's going to be a whole heck of a lot more compact than that. So that I do like that. It kind of takes their their Osprey, kind of non-concentric design.
Eccentric?
Yeah, that. And puts most of the blast area below the bore rather than having it all the way around it. So it's kind of cool. It keeps it a little more streamlined, and it's not any thicker than a standard M&P. It doesn't look like, maybe a little bit, maybe 1.25 inches instead of 1.2 inches or something like that, because it does look like it flares out a little bit, but not too terribly much. So I'm pretty excited to see where they take it with, like Ryan mentioned, I'd heard from a couple places that it will not be, when it comes out, it won't be on the M&P frame. They're just kind of using that as a test bed, I guess, to make a working prototype. Okay. So SilencerCo is going to be designing their own frame, I guess, from what I'm hearing.
That's what I was hearing too, is that they're basically going to come out with their own new handgun.
Yeah.
With this suppressor built in, is the rumor I heard. So hopefully, I'm guessing with the way they make suppressors, if they bring out a handgun that's all their own, it's probably going to be pretty nice too.
Yeah, I would bet.
Well, I wonder about this whole thing. How big is the market for a suppressor pistol combo? That's what I said. It was easy. My tongue was like, no, I'm not saying integrally. Anyway,
if we get
how big is the market for this?
Oh, it's huge. If we can get rid of the ATF regulation on suppressors.
Yeah, but I'm talking. Yeah, well, if you could do that, I could have one. No, but I'm just saying, how much of a market is there? How many people buy a suppressor because they can use it on more than one firearm? Like, one of the things you get it for is because you can use it on different guns. So now you got one. You just spent the money for the suppressor, the pistol. What are we thinking? $2,000 to $3,000 for this thing by the time it's said and done, especially if it's going to be proprietary.
Yeah, probably.
And you cannot use it on anything else. So you got to wait, 6 months, 8 months, whatever that silly ass wait is. Excuse me, didn't mean to curse. No, I'm just pulling it in from the frustration from New Jersey waiting on paperwork for the government so you can exercise a civil right. Gets me a little frustrated sometimes. I apologize. But it's annoying, and you got to wait. You got something that's $2,000, $3,000, and then you can only use it on that particular pistol. And let's stop it. Who's carrying this? You got a holster for it, but where are you going to carry it? It's going to be your duty pistol with a suppressor on it?
Maybe.
You're not going to have
maybe. Have you seen Judge Dredd?
You're not going to have a $3,000 pistol. Exactly. You're not going to have a $3,000 pistol that the cops take when you're involved in the shooting and keep until the end of the trial 3 years later. It's not happening.
Some people carry Nighthawks.
Yeah. Well, SilencerCo is not
and those
interested
4
in,
people.
I was going to say, SilencerCo is not interested in just pumping out a product and selling it and making fistfuls of money, and that's it. They're about the silencer culture and getting silencers removed from the NFA entirely. because it's not about making it a quiet assassin's tool. It's about hearing safety and how it's just makes sense. You know, the same guy that invented the thing, you know, led to the muffler on the vehicle, and mufflers are mandatory for vehicles. So why is this so heavily restricted and not more encouraged? Because it's a safety device, honestly. I mean,
yes,
you know,
100%.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
kudos for them for the whole silence how is it?
Fight the noise.
Fight the noise. This kind of goes along with that. This is not a suppressor; it's a handgun. Everyone should be able to access this without elaborate fees. So
they're pushing the boundaries, which is awesome, and I hope more people take because I mean at this point, once this releases, SilencerCo will be the entire market for silenced handguns, and hopefully somebody else like AAC or somebody will see that and be like, dang, I want to slice of that pie, and then we'll get some competitive market going, which would be awesome. I mean, I would personally, assuming it's a good product, I would own one of these.
Yeah, and the other thing is they may actually be looking at like law enforcement for a duty weapon, because their hearing's important too. But on that aspect, if you're looking at a duty weapon, the more police officers that start carrying suppressed pistols, the more it becomes known that, hey, these things aren't really super quiet like the movies make them out. And so in years to come, it may be easier if the police are carrying them. It's easier to say, hey, there shouldn't be a regulation on this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, my department's going for the guns right now, new ones, and they almost had a heart attack when SIG told them how much it was to change over. So, no, I don't think they're going to have $3,000, $4,000 guns, especially when you have to buy 700 of them.
Hey, in 10 years when they're $300?
Yeah, who's going to make them? NC Star?
No, High Point.
Oh, okay, then they'll be quality.
Yeah, just wait in 2017 when Rigger comes out with the integrally suppressed SR 1911, and then just like boom. I am curious why they chose 9mm versus 45, because obviously 45 is like inherently subsonic, which is going to be quieter. I mean, it's great that they did 9 because it's kind of more universal. Everyone and their mother shoots 9. And supposedly it's very quiet and hearing safe, even with supersonic ammunition. So your 115 grain bulk ammunition. But I'm just surprised that they went with that versus 45 to start out with.
I would imagine they're probably just designing, like this being a prototype. They just kind of went with pick one, and eventually they'll probably come out with a 45. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because 945 is an antiquated ammo, and 9mm, which is 3 years older than the 45, is not antiquated ammo. Oh, I'm sorry. I was using dumb internet logic. I apologize.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Well, it's been proven with modern ammunition that 9mm is like the ultimate self-defense round, right?
Yeah, but only if you can afford modern self-protection ammo. If you buy anything else, well, it's not that good, but okay.
So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that and how it's priced, and unfortunately how the ATF attempts to regulate it. I'd love to see them like throw their papers in the air and go, screw it, we can't do it. But that's not going to happen. They're going to try and the crap out of it.
Yeah,
the ATF said no. They say no. That's what they say to everything.
Yeah, just like that cannon we talked about.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking.
So the next product is something. Oh, you go ahead. You guys got something else to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Hopefully, they come out with this product comes out and it's at a more reasonable price point, not $2,000 to $3,000, but closer to the I think $1,500 would probably be a very reasonable price. When you think about buying a $500 firearm and then putting a $800 to $1,000 silencer on it, I think that kind of price range would be way more doable than what you guys were saying. So hopefully they can get it down in that lower price point, and a ton of these will be sold, and it'll just kind of prove that point of, hey, look, people want these,
Yeah, it's a
I hope so.
possibility. What we're going to talk about in the last segment, the Tech Editor app. SilencerCo is branching off into different products, not just silencers, and the whole. I'm not going to lead it. I'm just going to talk about it briefly, but they're taking a product category that's been such a high priced and only a small percentage of gun owners can afford that type of product, which we'll talk about in the later half of this podcast. And they're taking something like that, developing something brand new and innovative, and bringing it down to a price point they feel that more people can access, giving new technology and giving the availability to all of us, not just the 1% or the 10% that are upper class making really Google money. So we'll talk about that later. But that could relate to this, is that this is something brand new that's innovative. Of course they're not going to want only like the rich people, the big YouTube gun guys to only have this, and obviously police department with purchase orders and the Secret Service. They're going to want something like this to be accessible to all the people. So I'm hoping that price point is under $2,000, like you guys said. So the next product is actually something much more accessible that you can get right now, right today. It's already ready to go. This is the SilencerCo Osprey Micro. So they took the premise of the Salvo 12, which is roughly the same design as an eccentric suppressor as the Osprey 45 at 9, and they've scaled it down to the 22 long rifle, or just 22 caliber. But it is still modular like the Salvo 12, so which is awesome because you can have it longer or shorter, and you get a little bit of decibel reduction difference between the two, but it's still like pretty awesome. So it's 4.6 inches in its longest configuration, but you can get it down to 3.1 inches, which is like still. 4.6 is pretty short for a 22 can. But 3.1 is like there's no suppressors out there that are that short unless it's on an integrally suppressed barrel. So that in itself is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that with the Smith & Wesson M&P 22 compact with the shortest configuration was something like a 1/4 inch longer than a full size 1911. So it's getting. I like that size. It's awesome. Basically, like Ryan said, it's quite literally like a Salvo and an Osprey made a baby, and it's a 22 because it gives you the eccentric to the bore like their Osprey, like we're used to, but it takes the removable baffles, removable sections of the Salvo, because a Salvo you could go from 8 inches to 14 inches or something like that just by taking sections out and making it bigger and smaller. They did the exact same thing just on this 22, and so that's really cool. You can, you could use it with the bigger, what I guess a good utilization of that I could imagine is having it as large as possible on a rifle, because you're going to have a little more velocity and it's going to be a little louder coming out of a rifle anyways, and then you shrink it down and put it on a pistol, and it's kind of the best of both worlds, I guess you could say.
Well, I think one of the great things about it is, like Alex was speaking about last week, you put this on a Smith & Wesson Compact M&P 22, and now you have the suppressor on there. There's no crack. To teach a new shooter how to shoot without intimidating them with at least the loud noise or startling them, I mean, they just ease into it and they do the right things, and they don't have to worry about recoil or the loud noise or the slap. And it's kind of cool because it's not making a lot. I mean, and everybody wants to shoot it because it's a suppressed 22, and it looks cool. I mean, truthfully, if I lived in America instead of New Jersey, and I can get one of these, it would be an actual part of my class that I would advertise First Steps pistol with the suppressor on it, because it would bring people in who already shoot guns, but they'd want to shoot this anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one huge thing about suppressors is if you're teaching people, or if even people that know how to shoot that may have a flinch or something with certain pistols or something, a suppressor will help them out a lot because there's not that huge crack or whatever you want to say. Also, I'll go back to this Osprey Micro here. And one of the really nice things about it is it's rated not just for 22 long rifle. I mean, it's 17 HMR, 22 mag, and 22 what is WMR Winchester Magnum.
Yeah.
And it's full auto rated for people that live in free states. So that's another plus, especially when you're dealing with something 4.6 inches long that's full auto rated is pretty much unheard of and weighs 6 ounces or 6.1 ounces in full length configuration.
Yeah, I'm a little confused, as I think their media person may have been, as to why they put 22 mag and 22 WMR, being that they're the same thing.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself.
Well, I'm wondering if they mean the new 22.0. I don't know exactly which one I'm thinking of, but the new, it's like is it the Winchester? Oh, I can't remember.
I don't know which one. I know they have like 17, like super freaking Magnum rimfire, but
Yeah.
I'm not aware of a 22.
It's something. I can't remember what it was. It's not but I don't know. I'll see if I can find it here.
Yeah. So it looks like in the longest configuration, it's got a decibel level of 112.4 decibels, and then reduced down, which is, it looks like you just take 4 of those sections out, or I'm sorry, 3 of those sections out. It takes it down to 127 decibels. So you got a difference there of, what's that, 15.6 or 14.6 decibels.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you could always, add in 1 or 2, to have a reduced length overall from the full configuration. But you can put like 1 or 2 more stacks in there, and make up the difference if you feel like it. The weight difference between the two, the full 4.6 inches is 6.1 ounces, which is pretty stinking light. And then you've got the 3.1 as the shortest, and that's 4.3 ounces. So definitely it's small enough, it looks like from the pictures, that if you had a holster that had you might need to modify it a little bit, but this should be holsterable with the right holster.
Yeah, and actually,
any more down than the dust cover.
Yep.
Or the rail.
Right. It looks almost like they designed it to go on that M&P Compact 22, because the size, it looks like the same width, same height, and everything. It's almost like they kind of designed it for that handgun, but obviously you can put it on whatever you want. But then to go back to the holster and to the last subject, the Raven concealment holster that we were talking about for that Maxim. If you look in the show notes, I've put a picture of that prototype holster. I think it's kind of still in prototyping, and honestly, if you zoom in, it just looks like it's 3D printed. But if you really look at it, that looks like a M&P Compact 22, not the Maxim that's actually in the holster. So I'm thinking, if you look at some of the pictures, if you go to Raven Concealment's Facebook page, you can find a couple pictures, and they have a CAD model of it. It looks like they have some kind of reducer sleeve to where you can easily fit this handgun into that holster, or you can take the sleeve out and put that Maxim in it. So I think that's really cool. Like, they're working very closely with Raven on this.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, and you can also get these quick adapters that you can put on all your rifles, and very easily add this onto your 10-22, your Savage 17, all your 22 caliber pistols. So very awesome system. And of course, you don't need to get, for all your handguns, you don't need to go out and get handgun or suppressor height sights for each one because of that design.
Yeah, and I know that's probably a really big problem with 22s, because I know like Glocks, and I think you can get them for M&Ps, but other than that, maybe an XD, other than those, I don't think you can really get suppressor height sights for much. So it's really cool that they're doing that to keep you from having to spend more money, or possibly make it bigger barrier to entry.
Yeah, I always thought that was a cool design from them. Even back in the day when I first saw them. In what, '09, I think?
Yeah, I've always liked them. I can't afford the Osprey 45 or 9. I mean, I have to save up a little bit more, but
Yeah.
the micro here is $599, so you're looking at $600 before your tax stamp. So that's obviously higher than most 22 suppressors. There's no doubt that there's so much more functionality to the micro than other suppressors. Not only for just cleanability, you can take that baffle stack apart and clean them really easily because everybody knows 22s are just dirty when you're suppressing them. But then that just modularity of making it shorter on your pistol, making it longer on your rifle, so you get the most decibel reduction. I think this is going to be a really good seller for them.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's pretty steep for a rimfire, but at the same time you do get there's a ton of other features that no one else offers. So I think honestly I think the 400 mark is kind of up there for kind of the top edge of rimfire.
Well,
Yeah.
in all
If I'm not
fairness,
mistaken.
I should have said this first when I brought up the MSRP, is that if you go out and you get the cheapest 22 can you can find, I mean, my Tactical Solutions Cascade, it's not titanium, so it's not rated for the other calibers. Just the regular Cascade was like $130. But I cannot use it on anything but 22 long rifle. I can't put it on a Magnum, a 17, a 5x7 by 28. I can't do all that. But with this can, obviously the more expensive 22 cans are built better so that they can fit on those other higher velocity rimfire cartridges. So, that's think about it that way. Don't compare apples to oranges when you're like, oh well, this can's only under $200. Why is this one $600? Well, because you'll blow that baffles out of this one.
The other thing about this is, I mean, speaking of baffles, you have baffle strikes even on 22s, right?
You can.
You can have that? Because this thing breaks down, and only the closest baffle or the very end next to the barrel is the one that's serialized. The other parts you can replace. So thereby, if you do have something happen, you don't have to get rid of the whole thing. You can just order a new section, I'm assuming, from a baffle strike. And it's not buying a whole new thing. You're not more paperwork, and you just run your suppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
just
the other thing, like Ryan was saying, is if you're looking at comparable suppressors to this one that are rated for all these calibers and stuff, typically you're not going to get one this short. I mean, you're looking at 6-inch, pretty much minimum, maybe 5 if you're really lucky, but usually they're about 6 inches long in a 22 caliber suppressor that's rated for all this stuff. So, you're getting a few pluses, and like Tony said with the baffle strikes, not that that's a huge problem, but yeah, if you get one out on the end, you could probably just buy that piece for $50 or whatever they want for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I just curiously went to Silencer Shop and just to kind of look at the prices. They have one available for $525 in stock. So it's obviously, $75 less than the MSRP. But then looking at some of the kind of competitors, you have like AAC. They have one called Prodigy for $413, and that's kind of right around the competitor price of the this Osprey Micro. So it's not too terribly much more from some of the other competitors.
Now my real question is if they're going to sell those baffle pieces, whatever they want to call them, by themselves, can you buy like 5 extra and make the thing even more quiet?
That would be curious.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I bet you could special order.
In there, I think that's gonna limit you.
Yeah, probably.
But my thing is, you said baffle strikes aren't a big thing, right? Or it is a big thing?
I
don't know.
I don't hear of it much.
Okay, no reason I'm saying. I mean, I'm just thinking the advantage of something like the Osprey over other things, and I think it comes to what Brian was talking about. Most of these 22s are only rated for 22 long rifle, and this, with those little pieces, can go to your whatever, and you can suppress it. Especially now that Ruger has the 22 version of the All-American, the rimfire version of the All-American.
Yeah.
Rifles in 22 Magnum and 22 LR, and I don't know if they do the 17
I believe
HMR
they do.
thing. They do?
I think so.
So there you go. You still got this suppressor that you can use on any of those. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good deal. If I lived in a free state, I'd probably have one.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I'm not quite used to seeing them on a longer barrel because I just aesthetically, I guess, or maybe because watching suppressors and movies and stuff, it's unusual to see a long rifle barrel and then this brick hang off the end of it as far as the rectangular shape. So I mean, if you got a Ruger Mark III or Mark II threaded, that might not look as cool as the Sparrow or just something that's more of a concentric tube design, but the fact that it works so well with all those different calibers makes me want to get one of these and then go out and get a 22 Magnum and slap it on that and have some really good fun. Especially when there's another 22 shortage out there. Everyone knows that 17 just sits on the shelf and it's so lonely. It makes me wish that I had a rifle that shot it.
Yeah. I need to do like Tony said and pick up one of those Rugers for not too terribly much.
Yeah.
Yeah, $300.
Yep. So
I think really when you think about it, Ryan, back to what you're saying about it looking funny on a rifle, is the previous designs were pistol caliber, so you don't have a whole ton of people. You have the subsection of people that have their pistol caliber carbines, and also have an Osprey, an Osprey. So it's kind of like maybe that's why you don't see it on rifles too often. But I imagine you'll probably see these on this 22. I would imagine you'd see it on a rifle pretty often.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Hopefully I get to see it in my gun safe one of these days.
Well, with the new engagement, it might be a little while, huh?
Yeah. Talk about
years and years.
Hey, you guys can sticker all you want.
Oh yeah.
Before I did the deed, I do have a stamp there floating around somewhere. So the next product is interesting. Also, it's also a multi-caliber suppressor, and that's kind of the whole point of it. It's the SilencerCo Hybrid. I can't find a MSRP on it yet because unfortunately the Micro 22 and the Maxim 9 kind of overshadowed this at the Maxim Vice event. But it's interesting. It's a multi-caliber suppressor that handles everything from 22 long rifle all the way up to 45-70 and everything in between. So it's released, likely to become the new favorite for everyone shooting oddball calibers, even those bigger calibers. So it uses basically a end cap that's caliber specific. So if you want to shoot 22, the baffle design is optimized to accept all those. Obviously, there's enough volume inside to suppress 22 all the way up to 45-70. But you want to swap out that end cap because that's kind of where a lot of the sound reduction is as the gas is kind of hitting that cap and coming back into the can. So yeah, they've got pictures of it on their website of them putting it on what looks like SIG MPXs. I've got a picture in the show notes of it sitting on some kind of, was that a Scorpion pistol?
Yeah, it looks like a Scorpion.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So it's kind of interesting. If you wanted just one can and you had no problem putting it, taking the time to either take it off a muzzle device or unthreading it and putting it on multiple cans, this would be it. So even on their event, they had a 45-70 lever action on board, and they put it on there, and they said they were just turning those targets into Swiss cheese, all while being hearing safe, which is amazing. Taking such a huge caliber, that's like almost in elephant hunting territory, and making it hearing safe. That's quite a feat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they're trying to go for such humongous range? I mean, I guess technically you could put any silencer on a 22 and it would function to some extent, but I'm just curious on how well it would function. I guess they're making it easily disassemblable. I guess is kind of why they're throwing that 22 out there. Like you said, it kind of got drowned out by the Osprey Micro and the Maxim, so there's not a whole ton of information about it. But it's really cool. I think the idea of, I had always wondered about the legality of being able to do that. You know, is it registered as a 30 caliber can and you're just sticking it on a 223 versus it's a 30 caliber can and then you swap that end cap out and making it effectively a 22 caliber can or something, you know, obviously that's just an example, but I'm wondering how, I guess there was some extra, I just wonder if there was some extra legal red tape in there or not.
Yeah,
I would think that it's just registered as 45 cal, and then
that's what I was gonna say. Is it's probably listed as a 45 cal can.
But then you change that end cap out, and it changes the.
But the baffles
design
are still.
Of it, I guess. Yeah.
But the baffles are still drilled for or basically 45 caliber internals.
Yeah. Which is another kind of curious thing, is if you're putting something too much smaller than a 45, I wonder how much just that one end cap being that size.
I'm guessing even without the end cap, the can from the pictures looks like it's 10 inches long maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get, it's a lot of volume in that can. So, yeah. I mean, you could probably take the whole baffle stack out and stick it on a 22 long rifle, and you're going to get some suppression out of it just from the volume of the can.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely interesting.
It's going to
love
be
to see the price point of it.
Disproportionate if you put this on a 22 pistol. And, you know, it's going to be so heavy and big, you know. So, but it's cool that you can put this on your 1911 and shoot it, and then if you wanted to put it on your 30 cal 308 and go hunting, or if you wanted to put it on your 223 on your AR for a day at the range. There's never been a can that had that much versatility. I mean, every can has some inherent like window of, oh yeah, I bought a 45 can, so it works on my 9, but you never really used it on your 22 because the size of that end cap that aperture was permanent, so it didn't do you a whole lot of good. I mean, I put a 30 cal can on a 22 pistol, and it was kind of, it was a novelty, and obviously I only did it that one time, but this takes that and stretches it into just a whole new market for suppressors. Is something that's a jack of all trades.
Well, how did it function?
It functioned fine. It was just funny. Didn't see my sights worth anything. Almost couldn't see my red dot.
I really wish I had a decibel meter that worked. Not just the phone ones, but one you could actually measure this stuff. And I'd take my 9mm can, because you stick it on my 22 and it's like a 1022, and it's just as quiet as like a 22 can on there. But it's huge because of what it was made for. But I'd be curious just to take the internals out of it, stick it on there, and see if it actually, how much it actually reduces the sound just from the volume of the can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
As a person that's stuck in a place like Jersey, I hope these things take off. I mean, I hope this is the beginning of something big nationwide, because the more this thing becomes commonplace, I think it'll start putting more and more pressure on people in this state who just accept that, their firearms information from the movies, and of course suppressors are used by assassins and James Bond. And when this starts showing up, because it's legal to hunt with in more and more states, people are doing a lot of hog hunting with it in places like Texas because they're seen as pests, so you can use suppressors on them. And these TV shows are getting out there, and the word's getting out there. And I think the more public opinion shifts on this, the harder it's going to be for states like Jersey that won't even allow these things in the state to keep saying no, because it'll start becoming mainstream. We just approved pellet gun hunting in the state. I mean, it's that ridiculous, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it's still based on some silly poaching fear that was from back during Depression days when that's what they did, because these people had to eat because, they didn't have money for food. So they supplemented their diets by shooting stuff off season. And that's, I feel that's another reason that suppressors are illegal. You know what I mean? Not illegal, excuse me, but the $200 tax down back in the day. Yeah, regulated when it was $40 for a suppressor back in the day.
Mm-hmm. If that.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's what I saw in one of the history things talking about it. The most expensive suppressor was like $40 back in the 1920s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of them I could remember hearing, you could pick one up for $6, kind of super cheap department store. Maybe not, obviously, maybe not that exact, but really cheap. And so that $200 becomes way more at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this.
Baffle. I was just going to make sure we don't forget to mention that this is going to have a baffle strike issue, because if you leave the 22 diameter end cap on there and then put it on your 45, you're going to have some problems. So I bet you that that better be covered in the warranty, and I bet you that they're going to have a lot of warranty claims saying, oh yeah, I had a baffle strike.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Because I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing, where you're going to inevitably have somebody that's having a good time at the range, and they tell their buddy, hey, you can put this on any gun out here with a threaded barrel, and they just take it off their AR and throw it on their 300
45-70.
Yeah, they just throw it on something else that's got a bigger diameter without kind of behind your back or something like that, thinking it's okay, and then a second later half your silencer flies down range. But so I guess hopefully they have something to help alleviate that. I'm not sure. I guess we won't know more.
I'm sure it's part of the design. Maybe it's designed to not ruin the whole can if there's a catastrophic baffle strike.
Yeah, but I would imagine if it rips that end cap out, it's going to mess up the threads, and it's going to be toast at that point. So I guess we'll see around SHOT Show. It looks like this article I'm reading here from Soldier Systems is saying that the pricing and availability will be announced in January of 2016. So I'm assuming SHOT Show, since that's what's in January.
Cool.
Sweet.
So, looking forward to that. Hopefully it's a reasonable price point as well, because that would be awesome to be able to buy one unit and just swap it between rifles and pistols and everything. Just pay attention, because you would hate to have to call in that warranty repair.
Yeah.
Something that does say
it's about a grand or under.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Because it's really not new technology. It's just they're offering it with swappable end caps, and they're offering those end caps to people unless they change something on the inside. I don't imagine it would be too terribly more expensive than whatever their current top of the line silencer is. But we'll see.
Yep. So that's all the suppressor talk we got. But Chad, you've got something to review today, don't you?
I do.
Sweet.
I do. Somebody's got to do something around here. What I have to review is the Adaptive Tactical Venom SE magazine conversion kit for Mossberg 500, 590 shotguns. What this thing does is it converts your shotgun to a magazine-fed shotgun. And I'll try to hold stuff up and so people can see it if they ever actually want to. But the pictures are on the Firearms Insider website. They're probably better than you could probably see on the internet anyway. But that way people get ideas. It comes with, I'll kind of scroll it, this fore-end. It comes with a pistol grip adjustable stock, magazines, which lock in like an AK. They kind of roll in and lock back. You could probably hear that. And then there's this little lever here to remove them. They sent me a stick mag and a drum magazine. So I'm going to set this shotgun down now because it's easier to talk about it that way, unless I need to actually show you. And so what it is like I said, it's magazine conversion. It comes because it comes with their Raptor forend, which is kind of has, I don't know, kind of sits above the shotgun barrel, has some Picatinny rails on it. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. It only works with 2 3/4 inch shells because of the magazine capacity. So no 3-inch stuff, which didn't matter to me. Probably one of the hardest parts about this kit was the installation. If you know how to completely tear apart your Mossberg 500, you shouldn't have any trouble. But that's if you know how. Their instructions are pretty good on how to do it, which helps a lot. But of course, after you make sure the firearm's unloaded, you got to remove the barrel, trigger group, shell stops, bolt carrier forend, the lifter for the shells, and the magazine tube. And the magazine tube on the newer shotguns, newer meaning probably the last 20 years, is like glued in with some sort of Loctite that I don't know what they use. And it's a pain to unscrew. So once you get it all torn apart, then you have this new magazine tube assembly, I guess is what you want to call it. And you screw it into where the old magazine tube went. And usually you find out that the magazine well now doesn't line up with the bottom of the shotgun. So then you got to unscrew it. They supply some sandpaper. You set it on a flat surface, sand down the end of that magazine tube. Try it again. After, 4 or 5 times, you sand off enough metal that the magazine well is now parallel with the sides of the shotgun, which is how you would like it. Then you have to basically assemble the rest of the shotgun back together, which includes you now use their forend, the Raptor forend. Put the thing back in, except you do not use the left side shell plate, which at first I thought was kind of weird, so I left it in just to see what would happen. Well, what happens is when you go to cycle the shotgun, every other time it loads a shell. So I see why they want you to take it out. So, of course, I proceeded to take it out, and then it worked fine.
Yeah, Chad, I thought about that whenever I originally read the review, and that second one is to kind of hold the other shell from advancing into the receiver while it's pushing the current one. So
Right.
I guess it's kind of an interrupter. You could say it only releases one at a time. And
Yeah.
being that it's a magazine, I guess it doesn't need that because there's no more in the tube.
Right. But I just figured I figured I knew that they knew what they were talking about, but I wanted to see what actually happened. It was more so why I did it, because that piece is easy to remove anytime. So after then you do that, okay, then you can move on to the installation of the stock, which basically, you know anything about shotguns, you undo the bolt through the butt pad and it just unbolts, and you bolt on this new one, which comes with 2 like little spacer plates that go between the receiver and the stock itself, or stock pistol grip assembly, I should say. And one of them kind of has a slot and kind of a little rounded piece to either attach a sling or a single point sling, like you could clip it on there. And the other one, which I don't have pictured, is just a straight spacer, doesn't stick out the left side of the shotgun, and offer you a place to put a swivel. But if you want to put a sling on it, it comes with built-in sling swivel stud cups in the stock. And so if you want a quick attach sling, you can put one in there quite well. It is an adjustable 4-position M4 style stock, pretty much like everything else. The butt pad on this particular stock shotgun assembly is spectacular. I mean, I put oh geez, I don't know. I think I put like 100 rounds through it in one day, and my shoulder didn't even hurt at all from this thing. So, that was spectacular. Uh, the pistol grip was really comfortable. I typically don't tend to personally like pistol grip stocks, but I did like this one, so I guess that's a plus. Your cheek weld is good with the stock pulled to most of the extended positions. If you run it all the way up short, your cheek weld is a little high, which the stock kind of angles down, so that's kind of a given there. It's not exactly straight like an AR-15 or something to that effect. I did find out that even though the base of the pistol grip comes off, I said it was extremely hard to get it on and off, and Adaptive Tactical didn't mention it. They since have emailed me and said, yeah, they didn't make it to come apart and be a storage compartment, even though it can be removed. So it's not actually a storage compartment. It's just kind of the way they mold the part. So one of the problems which some people can have is, unlike a normal traditional stock on the Mossberg, the safety on the Mossberg is on the top of the receiver, so you can't like rest your thumb on the safety to flick it off or on. You have to literally remove your hand from the pistol grip to cycle the safety, which might be a problem for some people. Others might not care. I didn't really care. I could see how that could help, because you're not going to flip the safety onto fire and then have your finger on the trigger, because it's pretty much impossible. So now we're going to talk about the magazines. The kit they sent me came with a 10-round stick magazine, and they also supplied a 10-round drum magazine, which basically they both hold 10 rounds, but I'll hold them up here. But the drum mag is about half the size. So how did they work? Well, the stick magazine pretty much functioned flawlessly. I could not find any problems with it. And then the drum magazine, which has a few nifty features I'll talk about, every once in a while it would fail to like cycle around. Maybe 1 out of 10 times. And when I talked to Adaptive about it, they said that it could be a loading issue. Excuse me, because you want to load the rounds kind of like a 22 long rifle magazine, where the rims of the shot shells don't cross over each other, so you want to load one and make sure the rim's in front of the next one. So that could help. The other thing is they're more complicated than a stick mag, and they said the stick mags, of course, work much nicer. But the drum magazine is ambidextrous, so you can literally put it in with the drum hanging out the right side or the drum hanging out the left side, which, depending on if you're right or left-handed, comes in quite handy. And like I kind of showed before, it's kind of got an AK style rock in the magazines. Now, to talk about the forend, their Raptor forend, it has 3 Picatinny rails mounted on it, 2 little short ones on the side, and a taller one, long, pretty much full length on the top, which I really think is probably about only useful for a light, but I guess if you have something else you can put on it. I had a red dot sight I put on it. It put the sight way too high to get any use out of it whatsoever. So I just took it off and realized that it's probably for a flashlight. And besides that, the it kind of, when you put the thing together, it kind of makes like a sight tunnel to line up your sights, which if you have sights or a bead, depending on what kind of, certain barrel assembly you have. And I did find that it tended to actually kind of draw your eye into that tunnel so you could find your sights faster. Kind of like a scope or a red dot does if it has a tube. You know to look through the tube to see what you're looking at.
It's kind of like a giant ghost ring.
Yeah, it's more square, but yeah, it's like a giant ghost ring.
Nice. I can see that working.
It seemed to work well. And then, along with foregrip, they send this little, they call it a Kelly grip. And basically what you can do, it's pretty sturdy, but in case it's got these little covers and screw holes, one on each side of the forend, you can screw it in to help cycle the shotgun. The problem with it is for me it was awkward because it only puts it literally straight out, so you're cycling the shotgun like this, not like your normal grip, so it felt kind of weird. It didn't seem to not work, it just I didn't care for it. Then one of the other things that I've noticed with it is, I suppose if you're short or have short arms or something to that effect, it could be a problem cycling the shotgun. I'll hold it up again so that you can see that it's got this little piece to help you not run into the magazine well, which actually sits in front of where your old shells used to go in, basically, or load. So you lose probably 3 inches of travel backwards towards you when you pump the shotgun. I have longer arms, so it wasn't a real problem, but I could see people with shorter arms that's going to cause a problem for. So that's pretty much the review. I'll go down to the Firearms Insider 8 key points. Let's see, the target markets, shooters wanting easier loading, maybe the, heavy class 3-gun shooters where they have to use a 12-gauge pump shotgun. The claim to fame is it's a magazine conversion, which is cool. The features and benefits, it's magazine conversion. You can get 5-round, 10-round, or 10-round drum magazines. It comes with a pistol grip adjustable stock, the new forend that has Picatinny rails. You can get it in black, Cryptek, ATAX, multicam, and Desert Digital. They sent me the multicam because they asked which color I wanted, and I said, hey, I like multicam. Now, the price point, here's where you guys can start coughing or doing whatever you want. For the colored ones, basically patterns, is $339.99. As received with the Raptor 4N 10-round box magazine and the stock. In one of those, you can get it for $299.99 in black. If you're looking to not get the stock, it's $229.99 with the Raptor 4N, or with the standard 4N, it's $199.99 in a 5-round box magazine. Some of these kits are available on Brownells, but the complete one as tested was not, so I didn't, put it in there. Prices were pretty much about the same, so need it now availability is contact Adaptive Tactical. For our ratings, the pros, like the adjustable stock, the pistol grip, the Raptor 4N, having the ability to have 10-round magazines is pretty cool. It comes with some pretty cool patterns. The built-in QD sockets were pretty cool. The ambidextrous drum magazine And last but not least, as a big pro, it's now a magazine-fed shotgun. Who doesn't like a magazine-fed shotgun? The cons, the installation was kind of complicated. I didn't have any trouble, but some people could. Adaptive Tactical will actually install it for, I don't know how much, but you can send them it and they will install it. The safety isn't reached easily. I didn't think the drum magazine functioned as good as probably could, and the price, as tested, is probably even more than the shotgun cost, or about the same. So I gave it a 7.5, which is good. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. I think I got pretty much everything in there. So, any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little tip. If you're are trying to install this and you're trying to take the magazine tube out, would suggest heating the threaded area with
Yes.
like a little propane torch or something like that. And because I actually had to do the same thing a couple years ago to my Mossberg, and it makes it a little easier to do that. And then if you have a strap wrench, that is very helpful. Do not put a pipe wrench on it, because
You'll crush it.
you'll either crush it or bend it enough to where it won't take full capacity.
Yeah, I actually did heat it up a little bit and used a strap wrench. So,
There you
but
go.
it's still a
It
pain
was still
in the
difficult?
butt. Yeah, mine did not want to come off. So, yep.
Do you
Alright.
feel that this is good to go as far as it's rugged and durable enough to, if you had to, defend your house, and just use it instead of just like a range toy, that it would hold up?
I do think it would. Maybe not with the drum mag, but with the stick mags, these things are, I don't know, they're super thick, and I mean, I dropped them, not on purpose, but I did drop them. I didn't drag them behind a truck like Tony would want me to, but they are, you can tear them apart to clean them, but the whole thing is, I don't know what the heck it's made out of, some polymer, but it's like super tough. You can't even flex it like on the forend or anything, so I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that the drum mag is ambidextrous. I definitely wouldn't expect that, and
Yeah, I kind of,
flip it around.
when I first got it, it doesn't say anywhere that it is, and I'm looking at it going, this thing looks like it works both ways. So I put it in both ways. I'm like, hey, that's sweet. And, it worked out pretty well. And then I sent the link to Adaptive Tactical, and they sent me a thing back and said, yeah, most people don't even realize that the drum magazine is ambidextrous. So they said it's good to get that in the review, and I said, they're like, yeah, we liked it. So
Yeah, nice. One thing I don't think you mentioned, or I saw it in the print review, but I don't think you said it just now. They add that little kind of almost like a hand stop on the back of the pump, so you don't grab too far back and slam the meat of your hand between the magazine and the pump, which is got to be very nice to not do that.
It is, and I'm sure because it, like I said, it moves the actual pump forward more. That if you didn't have that, it would be really easy to smash your fingers.
Yeah. Now, I think you mentioned that Kelly grip being on the sides. I think maybe kind of one of the reasoning for it to be kind of sticking out the side like that is to get around that drum, maybe, or get around that long magazine. So maybe help with that. But I notice on their other forend that they have them, rather than at like the 3 and 9 positions, they have them more at the like the 7 and 5, to where it's angled downward, but not straight out to the side.
I noticed that too, and I was like, man, I wish they would have done that with this one, because straight out the side was odd, but the one advantage with it is where it attaches on this forend is back
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it attaches right here.
It looks like that little push button.
Yeah, it's just a little cover. It pops out. I can't pop it out right now because I don't have a screwdriver. But
Yeah, I see it in the review pictures. It kind of looks like a pressure pad almost for like a flashlight or something.
yeah,
So that's just the cover.
yeah, it's just the cover for the screw hole. So
Pretty neat. Do they make them for 870s?
you know, I don't know if they do. I was looking to see if they did, and I couldn't. Right now, it looks like it's only the Mossbergs.
I wonder why.
They make a standard forend and stock for the 870s, but not the magazine conversion.
I wonder why that is. Maybe something internally where it just doesn't work properly.
Yeah, or they're working on it. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember we talked about this a few months ago. I guess right before the summer, I guess we talked about it.
Yeah, I was going to say it was like 4 months ago or so.
Uh-huh.
We talked about like their Raptor forend and conversion kit, and that's what, I was like, that's pretty cool. And so I, asked you to send them something for T&E, and I figured I better do this review while I had a chance, because here in a few days I got to send it back.
Yeah.
Past their time I'm actually supposed to have it. They haven't said anything, but but I was like, well, I don't want to impose, keep it until they ask me, so I figured I better do the review so I could show the pictures and everything, and then I can dismantle the thing, which is not gonna take me a few minutes.
So what would you attach to the rail on the top of that forend?
A flashlight.
Flashlight. That's it.
I suppose.
They don't make a Picatinny mounted chainsaw grip, do they?
No, well, probably not. I suppose if you were into lasers, you could mount a laser up there.
Yeah, there's only one more magazine-fed shotgun company out there, and they use one of those side pumps too, and then they have a rail that runs along the whole top that looks like it adds 10 pounds to the shotgun itself. So
yeah,
I like this concept of the magazine-fed shotgun that's a pump, mainly because I'm afflicted again with the state that I'm limited to 6 rounds in a semi-auto shotgun, but in a pump shotgun I can have 15 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if they would come with larger magazines than this available, maybe like a 15-round drum magazine or something like that. That would be pretty sweet.
Well, once you get into, because I have the Sega, my friend has a Sega. He moved to America, Pennsylvania, and he's able to have the 20-round Sega mags. That's big,
it's quite large.
That's wide, that's heavy. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And the 12-rounders are a little better, but it's a lot of weight when you load them up with double aught. You know what I mean?
I bet.
Yeah, I understand, because I loaded these things up, and it's amazing that you're like, they're pretty heavy once you load them up with certain types of ammo.
Yeah, with just the shot, it's an ounce per load,
Yeah.
And that's not including the primer and the holes and the powder and all that stuff. That's probably...
It's a pound a shot.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the great thing, everyone knows, all of us have shotguns, and most of the people listening has a shotgun. The hard thing about a shotgun is keeping it fed. And when you can just swap out a magazine and the shotgun, it's great. I've run courses with it. We've created courses with it. And if you don't know how to load your shotgun, at the end of a 4-hour course, you're going to know how to load your shotgun quickly. And with a magazine, it's awesome.
Oh, I'll mention one other thing that I don't think I put in the review. On these magazines, there's this little button here on the side that's super hard to push. But what it does is it kind of pushes down and it'll drop the shells up, so you can actually unload anything left in the magazine a little bit easier.
Cool. Nice.
I prefer just to shoot them, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. One other, I guess, additional note: they could make a 2-round magazine for the states where you can't hunt with more than 2 rounds in your shotgun. Then you could have a tactical hunting shotgun.
Yeah, and the magazines come apart just like pretty much like any magazine.
Mm-hmm.
The stick bags, you push a little button and the floor plate slides out. So in those states, if you had like a 5-round magazine, I'm sure you could put a block in it.
Okay, cool.
If your state allows, I guess is probably the case. Like here, yeah, we have a 3-round, 2-round magazine, one in the chamber, for hunting. So yeah, but you can block the magazine as long as you can't fit more than 2 in it. You'd be good to go.
It's not quite the same as like actual state restrictions where it has to be permanently modified. Right. Yeah, it's the same thing here. We could just kind of actually, whenever I bought my shotgun from a friend, it was very, very used, and it had a twig shoved down in the magazine tube as the stopper. I guess somebody might have been out in the field and saw the game reserve coming, or the game warden coming, and broke a stick off the tree and jammed it down in there to make it only hold 2.
Yeah.
That's my bet, at least.
Well, you got to remember, like, a lot of them, nowadays a lot of them are plastic, but originally the blocks were just a wooden dowel.
Mm-hmm. Actually, what I did after I removed that, I just took a piece of one of those plastic coat hangers, they're probably about a 1/4 inch, and just cut it to length and beveled the edges so it didn't catch up under the spring or anything. And
yeah, my Model 12 just has it's just a wooden dowel.
Mm-hmm.
It's the original one, so I actually never take it out of that thing because that's all I pretty much use it for anyway. So.
Okay. Well, sweet. Pretty cool review.
Thanks. What's next, Ryan?
Well, next we're going to get into the tech gadget or app segment, and we're going to come on back to SilencerCo, talk about something brand new that they are also releasing. It's caused quite a bit of a buzz.
And I know I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yeah.
You could mount it on this shotgun. I don't know why, but
you could.
That duck is 40 yards, 35 yards, 30 yards, and pull. So by that clue, you should guess that it is a rangefinder. But this is interesting because it's a weapon-mounted rangefinder that's pretty small. It's about the size of a compact rangefinder that you'd put in your breast pocket for golf or archery. But you actually mount this thing to what looks like they're just Picatinny rail, and it gives you a nice little readout on the back of it. So you zero this to your optic. And I was talking to my dad about it, and I'm trying to explain to it how you would zero your crosshairs to it at a given yardage. And how the laser line and the sight line through the optic, how those would be parallel, and if at some point those wouldn't be perfect anymore. But anyway, it's called the Radius, and the website is beyondhuman.com. So this is a new project that SilencerCo is kind of overseeing. The SilencerCo Weapons Research is what the official organization is called. But the website for it is beyondhuman.com. A lot of their teaser videos before they actually had this product out was kind of showing people using goggles and having almost like a video game heads-up display that reviews their optic pointing to their goggles. So much like Tracking Point and some of the things that they've came up with. But the whole premise behind this SilencerCo weapons research is taking some of those innovations that have come out in the last decade and trying to bring them down into a price point that everyone can afford, or most sportsmen or gun enthusiasts can afford if they want to. Tracking Point, no one's going to go out and buy a $10,000, $20,000 rifle with that sophisticated software on there. It's almost strictly military and law enforcement. However, this seems more dedicated to the sportsman. You can mount it on your AR, on your handguard. You can mount it atop on your scope cap or your scope rings for your bolt action rifle. You can mount it to the top of your shotgun if you are really good with slugs and you want to know exactly how far something is, so you can launch a slug at it. Yeah, it's called the Radius, and it looks like they're gonna bring the MSRP for under $1,000. So right now it stands at $999. It's got a range of. I was just looking at it. I guess I lost it.
It says a mile on reflective targets.
Yeah, that's quite a thing to boast about for something that's.
Especially for under 1,000.
Yeah. I see 1,000 yards on the Scout.com article that I have linked in the show notes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. They kind of specified reflective targets. I wonder what they consider reflective. Like if it has to be like a yeah, I doubt it has to be a perfect mirror at a mile, but I wonder, if you have some kind of
like a white steel target or something. Probably.
Like a building or a car or something along those lines, maybe. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, this thing's pretty sweet. I think it's got 2 built-in lasers. It has a visible laser and then an infrared laser. So if you sight it in with the visible laser, and then you could switch it to the infrared to where if you're hunting game and you don't want, you're hunting an elk or something like that, and you don't want it to see a red dot floating around it, freaking it out or something like that, you can use the infrared and get the actual distance. So it's a very well thought out feature, and honestly, that's probably a lot of the cost in right there, because infrared lasers are not cheap. So I bet you that's kind of where some of the price comes from. Now I'm kind of curious. I don't know. I guess I just don't know rangefinder technology. Why it kind of looks like a pair of binoculars? Does that have something to do with kind of like a depth of, kind of like your eyes having 2 points to judge depth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure.
Probably has something to do with that. But
yeah.
It's got a quick attach, just clamps right on the rail, so you don't have to, screw it on. And the windage and elevation adjustments look really well thought out. They're kind of shrouded by most of the device, but they're big enough to where you can easily access them. It kind of reminds me of a surveyor's level. You have this big thumb wheels to adjust it up and down, left and right. And then I think one of the, maybe not one of the coolest features, but one of the kind of subtle but really well thought out features is the display that it has, to where it tells you the distance is swappable. All you got to do is yank it off and rotate it to whatever orientation you need it. So if you have it on top of the rifle, you have it to where it reads, like you need it, or if you want to put it on the sides, you can flip it around so you're not reading it up and upside down or sideways or something like that. That's pretty neat that they even considered doing that.
It seems to me SilencerCo makes or engineers things that are well thought out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I've seen, laser rangefinders like we all have that's pretty much a monocle. It's just the one eye, and you hold it up to your face and you range using that. And this using 2, or more like a small pair of binoculars or opera glasses or something, it just seems to make more sense, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've never actually used one because I shoot at known distance courses. But it would be interesting.
Yeah, looking at the spec sheet, it says that it actually displays 3 ranges, a primary and 2 secondary in case of interference. And like we said, it's got a rating for reflective targets and non-reflective targets, and I feel like most rangefinders do that, because you might say, well, this one can go up to 1,000 yards. Well, that's under optimal conditions, and 90% of the time it's going to be a non-optimal condition, because there's going to be fog. It's going to be low light. There's not going to be any reflective trees or rocks or game. If you're trying to range a black bear, and it's against some really dark background, and there's nothing really reflective there. So Um, anyway, it says that it zeros, by the way, that laser, obviously, and then the visible laser can be blocked. So it still works, but you block it using some kind of removable cap or some kind of cover. I'm not sure. There is a pressure pad included for remote operation, so you can have this thing mounted way out on your extended length handguard on your AR-15 or AR-10, and then run the pressure pad up closer so you don't have to reach forward to turn it on each time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's got continuous or single shot modes of operation, so that if you're ranging a herd of elk, you can leave it on continuous and just kind of get a good range estimation on each one by just sweeping the laser across.
It's interesting. I don't see what kind of batteries it uses.
Yeah, it's on their front page.
Yeah, it's 2 CR123 batteries.
Okay.
And they say it will do continuous ranging for 12 hours with those.
Oh,
two,
nice.
so.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know too much about rangefinders and all that, but I imagine 12 hours constantly on, constantly judging. It's got to be
pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So
because you're not going to have it constantly on anyways.
Yeah. The weight with batteries is 18.2 ounces, and then without batteries it's 17 ounces. So it's adding a little bit of weight depending on if you've got an already heavy rifle. Ounces turn into pounds. So but this is really meant for long range precision, so that you can range something at 600-700 yards, and then adjust accordingly your shot using either your turrets or some kind of BDC reticle.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I'm not a hunter at all, and with a rangefinder that I can be 600 yards away from something like a mountain lion, I'd really like to use the visible laser and see if I can make it chase the laser around like it does cats in the house. I'd just really like to check that out. From, again, 600 yards away. I just want to know if it worked like that in real life, out in the wild.
Would be interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to know.
Would my guide be?
I want to know that wherever you mount this on your gun, because obviously they want a big advantage to it. Big advantage to it is you could take it off for your bolt action, put it on your AR,
yeah,
put it on your any other rifle that's got I'm assuming some kind of Picatinny mount. As far as it's where in relation to where it is to your optic, your scope, that has to be re-zeroed each time. I'm assuming so. If you've got it right above your scope, and it's 2 inches above your scope line, almost like you were entering in ballistic software, and it wants to know, what's the distance between your bore line and your sight line on your scope, or your scope height. Is it the same thing? Whereas, you basically, you zero your rifle, you put your crosshairs on a target at 100 yards, you have this thing, the radius mounted, and you turn on the visible laser. You kind of get the dot right on your crosshairs at 100 yards, and then it's good to go. Are those two sight lines, whether it's mounted on top of your scope or on the side of your gun or on your handguard, are those going to be concentric and parallel, out to 1,000 yards, okay? Or is it because obviously the gravity's not imparting any forces on a laser or your line of sight. But my question is, when you're zeroing it, does that make a difference? If you're trying to range a ground squirrel at 800 yards, for instance, can you miss it and hit the rock behind it, or is it not going to matter because the rock behind it is, only a yard away?
Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting point, but I think it's got to be kind of working similar to your parallel to your bore and your scope, same kind of thing. How eventually they meet, and that's kind of how you zero it. So you're just gonna have if you put it on top, for example, you're gonna have your bore is kind of zero angle, and then your scope might be 2 degrees, and then your laser might be 4 degrees because it's just on top of it, and it's kind of stack. So I mean, you'd have to zero it based on whatever you put it on, unless everything you put it on happens to have the same offset. But with the ease of access of these adjustability turrets, I don't think that would be too big of a deal. Like if you know you're kind of, I think if you're not going to be kind of going and saying, well, I might shoot something at 100 yards and I might shoot something at 1,000 yards. I feel like if you're going to be hunting something specific, you're going to know a rough range. So maybe if you know you're going to be 600 to 800 yards, you would try to zero it for that before you get started. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like you said, you're not aiming with this. You just need to know the yardage. But like you said, it's not like the rock might only be a yard behind it, or the ground it's hitting is only a yard or two in front of it. So it might not be the hugest. I mean, I know with long range like that, every little thing matters. But I'm kind of wondering what 628 yards, shooting at 628 yards when it's actually at 626 yards. I wonder how big of a difference that is. Kind of like you said.
Well, I mean, if you're like on a perfectly flat plane and you're aiming at an antelope, and at 600 yards, and then in actuality your laser is missing, or your zero is off, where it's actually ranging the antelope behind it. That's like 750, 800 yards. Yeah. So that's just what I was curious on.
I just wondered, does it bring anything to the table? Anything else isn't already doing? Really?
Well, it's.
I mean,
it's
that
like
your handheld won't do.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of. You can range your target with your handheld, put the handheld back in your pocket or wherever, and then pull out your gun, and then the target moved, and so you have to. I mean, that might sound a little ridiculous, but animals move, and if they're it's nice to have something integral.
Thank you for clearing that up for me.
I mean, Burris has the Eliminator scope series, which has that rangefinder built into the friggin' scope. So obviously there's a market for the convenience of having that integrated into your rifle platform or your optics.
Okay.
I mean, and having a good quality rangefinder, if you're gonna be spending, a lot of money on one that can make an accurate reading and be able to work in bad conditions, if it's hazy, if it's foggy, if it's low light, high light, it's nice to have one that's good quality. So I'm assuming that this is going to be like one heck of a rangefinder if SilencerCo's putting their name on it. But I'd be interested in seeing their. I'm sorry for interrupting, like I always do, but looking at some of their demo videos before they actually release the thing, you can be sure that they might come out with a Radius 2 that does this function, as well as some kind of Wi-Fi capability to put that feed, almost like a video recorder, or exactly like a video camera, and feeding it into your device, your smart devices, or some kind of smart glasses offered by SilencerCo. So this is just like the first pebble in what's going to be a large bucket of rocks of products offered by the SilencerCo weapon research that are going to kind of integrate into making a smarter firearm that's affordable. Not firearm, but a smarter, I guess, weapon system. As far as your relationship between your optics and your gun. We don't like smart guns around here.
We could really talk about that for a little bit. SilencerCo weapons research. It's kind of, I haven't seen anything about it. I don't know what the heck it is. This.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm missing the name of it now. Radius. Radius is the first thing I'm seeing from it, and it's kind of like, I'm assuming they're just trying to branch off. They don't want it to be SilencerCo so much as they're just kind of using this SWR acronym for it, just to kind of separate the silencer side and the fancy pants other weapons research side.
Right, and didn't they buy SWR?
I don't even know what that is.
Didn't they used to make suppressors also, and they bought them? I think.
Yeah, they combined with someone. They did.
Yeah, and I think so. Now they have the SWR acronym, so they don't have to pay royalties or whatever.
And according to the video, they made, they've also combined with Q Q from the 007 movies, and they have underground labs. Is
that sarcasm?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Oh, it was thick sarcasm. My internet connection is kind of slow, though. It might take a minute.
Yeah. So, I mean, and back to the radius. There's obviously been other weapon-mounted rangefinders in the past. I know EOTech did make one. Why it's discontinued now, I have no idea. But it was called the Ruler, RULR, and it's discontinued. And I'm trying to find what MSRP it had at the time. But based on a comment that I'm seeing, it was, you know, $25K, which could be exactly why it is discontinued, because nobody could afford it. So that just gives you an idea of bringing this to the table for under $1,000, how much of a feat that is, and what their overall you know, mission of bringing products to, you know, all gun owners, not just the ones with extremely disposable income.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like you mentioned that Burris Eliminator a few minutes ago. I just looked that up while we were talking, and that's a $1,500 scope, maybe even $1,599. So you're thinking, if you were to buy that versus this, it would leave you room for a $500 to $600 scope. But at the same time, you can go and get whatever you want and put this on top of it, or, you know, on the rifle, rather than being stuck with that exact Burris scope. That maybe you don't like some features, but you do like the built-in ability. You know, maybe, you know, you buy a $1,000 scope and a $1,000 rangefinder. It's worth that premium versus having the built-in ability, I guess, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, watch the video of SilencerCo Weapons Research, just like their demo teaser video on the new company. And whatever the heck that is that has those almost like snowboarding goggles that bring up that heads-up display, they better make that, or else I'm going to be pissed. That's called because he's looking at a pig, and it gives him, you know, thermal imaging.
Thermal range finding, and all these little icons pop up, and
it was the Predator.
Yeah, well, at the end of the video, the guy's got a fancy watch. He turns the face of it, and then he turns invisible like the Predator. So, obviously, that's going to be not something I'm expecting
things to come
next
from
year.
SilencerCo Weapons Research?
Yeah, that might be a little bit more fiction, but that first one with the goggles, they have to be coming out with that, because that's awesome. I'm going to laugh at the first guy that shows up to the range and puts them on, but that's not going to mean I'm not going to be, hey man, can I try those?
What if Vin Diesel snowboarded up next to you at the range in his full XXX garb, wearing those goggles?
I'm just going to say, I am Groot.
I don't think you would make fun of him.
Well, see, with me, more than likely someone showing up with those goggles would be a senior citizen, because they also wear glasses like that when they drive. Just saying. Let's not get carried away. I've seen more seniors than Vin Diesels.
Right, yeah, there was actually a guy at that training class I was at this weekend. He had these giant pink, kind of rosy-colored aviators on. I'm not sure if they were some kind of specific shooting glasses, because I know he was like a national match type shooter.
It was Roy Orbison. I'm sorry, nobody gets the reference, but Chad, you guys aren't old enough to know Roy Orbison.
Maybe not.
Never mind. Jesus, Google it.
That's it for products. We do have listener feedback, obviously, so because I've got this giveaway, and that's seems like the only time people leave us iTunes reviews. Not always, but it helps. So the first one is from XDman525, and he says, "Long-time listener, and the show does not get old. I enjoy the guests, and the host always gives the gear a fair review, no worrying of product bias, in my opinion. While straight talking gear can get a little dry, he does do a good job of making it entertaining and informative. Keep up the good work." Then we got another one from B. McKee. I like listening to the show to learn about different products. And then we got another one from Sticks and Stones, 1965. He says, really nice getting an honest review on the things that I may look to purchase. Keep up the good work. So,
Yeah, and
go ahead.
yeah, just wanted to add, no XD Man and Sticks and Stones both posted to our Facebook, but I don't believe B. McKee has. So remember, that is one of the stipulations, is post it to our Facebook so we know how to contact you a little better.
And like the Facebook page,
Yeah,
please.
of course.
So.
We should have done that already.
Yeah. And now, XD Man, I did want to throw out something I discovered this week. If you actually listen to our show on 1.5 times speed, it's a little easier to listen to. It's not quite as dry. It's a little more entertaining.
1.5 speed. Huh?
Yeah.
What kind of accident did you accidentally do to listen to it on 1.5 speed?
Well, last week's show was fairly long, so I was like, well, let's see if I can speed this up a little bit. And my podcast player happens to have a increased speed, so you can reduce the amount of if you have a bunch of podcasts to fit in, I guess you can speed it up.
Oh, okay, because you know what made last week's show speed up, TJ?
What's that?
You being on it.
No, that would have drug it out even more.
Yeah, I know what TJ's saying, because like if I go on vacation or something, then I got 1,000 podcasts to listen to in my podcast player. I'll crank them all up to like 1.2 or 3 or something.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't
Makes
know
it
you
go a
could
little
do
quicker, and it helps with the ums and uhs. It speeds through those, so it could be a little less straining on the ears, I guess.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I feel like I get in such a hurry that I am talking at 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
But other times I feel like I'm at 50%, just because I'm, I don't know, just monotone. But I try to keep all the episodes under 2 hours, definitely. That last one was special because we talked about so many suppressors, and it was the 100th. So you gotta be in for the long haul. But we are getting close. We're at an hour and 45. So apologize. This one ran a little bit more. I kind of threw in another product because I didn't think Chad was going to jump in here and talk about his review, but luckily he did. And it is suppressor related because you could put a Sabo 12 on the shotgun and have a drum or mag-fed suppressed shotgun. So there you go. So if you have any other questions or comments, send it to podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or cross@firearmsradio.tv. Remember to subscribe and leave us an iTunes review. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. Be sure to check out the Firearms Insider for reviews and industry coverage. And go all over to patriotpatch.co and buy some of this awesome t-shirt stuff that I designed, because it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
When are we getting our Firearms Insider specific shirts, Ryan?
What's that?
When are we getting our Firearms Insider specific shirts?
When Jake deems that it's profitable.
Who said anything about profits? We just need them to wear to like SHOT Show or something.
Oh, well, I already got mine. You gotta see if there's any left over. Talk to him, because there's Firearms Radio Network polos that have LA police gear on the sleeve. I got one of them for going to show, but you gotta actually like show up to say you're gonna go to SHOT Show and like commit to working, like being a cameraman, or bring a towel and wipe the sweat from my forehead while I'm doing these intensive interviews, and then you'll get a shirt.
Right. Hey, I want a 7X. Can I about something I'll be at beginning first week of October? It's called the NJ SafeCon, New Jersey Second Amendment Firearms Educational Conference. It's going to be the first one we ever have in this state. It's something like gun rights policy and educational thing. If you want to check it out, it's njsafecon.net. John Willett from the Bear Arms podcast is putting this together to get pretty much a brain trust together of Second Amendment, New Jersey Second Amendment guys. And we got some vendors coming out. And pretty much if you want to get in on the ground floor of New Jersey's version of the NRA show, this is what we're trying to turn this into, trying to make it into a big deal. Something brand new. It's NewJerseySafeCon.net.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, and thank you all for joining me today on this awesome day to do a number 101. And I will catch you guys on the next episode.
Yep. See you guys later.
Yep. See
All
y'all
right, bye,
later.
guys.